This is the lost chapter, Whiteboy. Michael was feeling really sad and sorry now. Funny how you find the one thing you've always been looking for. The one thing you didn't even know you were, but once you did, it was only to learn it's too late. For it's already lost as it vanishes before your eyes. Like Brigadoon, a place of wonder, awe, and magic. But it's too late. Much too late. For I really didn't know what I wanted, but I always wanted the same thing. So you're finally admitting it. Admitting what? You know. Just admit it. Just up your nose with a rubber hose. Really, Michael? You know, you really are a pest sometimes. And don't even get me started when you start siding with my demons. You're supposed to be my conscience. Who said I was? Okay, enough. Let's just get back to the chop in one piece. I still got business to take care of. Trying to exit the subway tunnel, Michael reached the station, and one Michael wasn't sure if he had entered from since he'd gotten lost in the tunnels and had spent some time running around in the dark. Still in the tunnel below, Michael now got to where he was no longer in danger of getting run over by a train and got out of the rails and onto the passenger's loading level. And now Michael looked around and felt something ill and ill-fated. In the spaces he was in, there was an atmosphere. This felt like no station that would be found on any of the maps and charts of the Metro's directory. All was stain-tiled and stain-lit, and with one single fluorescent light that burned like an ill-fated flame, flickering on and off with no rhythm nor resonance, like some bug zapper that had been forgotten and kept on for far too long, and all the insects in this damp and dingy place had gone to die. Oh shit. Then thought Michael as he noticed he wasn't alone. Oh, I don't like this. Michael's eyes then fidgeted a bit, scooping up this damp and dingy sight, while shadowy figures came to life. Every time that one shoddy and stain-colored fluorescent light conceived them with each flash. Shadowy figures that danced like shadows made by a row of candlelight, dancing like careless and carefree madmen before the end of the world. Michael then saw them, and the figures that made those shadows were even blacker than their own shadows themselves. Michael was spooked. Now, don't say spooked. Don't use that word. They were a wide-eyed bunch, dressed in all black, some run DMC-looking mothers. Nothing but black on black on black on black with some gold chains. As if gold could be the only other color for them to contrast with. Characteristically looking like a flock of shady-ass birds. More like buzzards. Very large eyes, made just to watch anything and everything, and studied them, objects and people, and with people made to watch every move you'd make or take, and closely too to interpret behavior, scrutinizing you, your reasons for doing whatever, seeking if there lay any danger within it. The most dangerous types of peeps are always the ones expecting the worst, since you can then expect the worst out of them, since they're expecting the worst out of you. They were a wide-eyed bunch, simply wide-eyed. And who were these guys, you might be wondering now? The BJAs, Black Jesus Army. That's who. And, shit, thought Michael, for this was a group he really didn't want to mess with. As he just stood there like a statue, not making any movements that could get them to react. Any movement they could fixate on and try to pull some countermeasures against. And then now all looking at the AK I've got strapped around my back. Double shit. Damn, boy, Michael. I see you carrying a big piece. Said Sunny Shades. And just like a BJA, he was getting straight to the matter. Not going to bother with formalities like, how you doing? How you been? How was the slammer like? Damn, long time no see. None of that stuff. With Sunny here, it was straight to, nice piece. Let me see it. Michael said nothing, as that fluorescent light kept zapping and zapping and zapping, even when all life had already been rendered dead. You, continued Shades. but then petrified with no more words needing to be said, since everything needed to be said could be said with all the trepidations their eyes were now speaking. You? Yeah, me, what? Fronted Michael, feeling his old drive. A pause now. One that Michael personally stretched out to see if a better response by them could be made in the intermission. None did. What is it that they call a bunch of crows that flock together? Oh, I remember now. You got a big piece, a big piece, hissed another, stepping up. Michael remembered being called Blue Ball. Yeah, I do. What's it to you? Finished Michael as he took a really big gulp of dread. Fuck these motherfuckers. I'll turn all their asses into Shit. And now, these long and shady flock of scary-looking birds started moving over towards him to get a better fix on him, and Michael didn't know if he was going to get jumped or properly greeted this time, or maybe both. Where you planning on going to use that? Asked another. And then Michael saw their leader, little Nero, stepping out. As he did, there was a sleight of hand as he then saw the man's hand already stretched out about to touch it. Michael now flinched, and the rest of the BJs made notice that he did, now more trepidations. I got my business someplace, answered Michael, with a half nod going up. And no way in hell was he going to lower it down now, holding on to his resolve. Hey, Michael, been a long time, homie. And that changed the mood that everyone was in some. For one of the BJs decided to go completely and totally out of character and smiled, greeting Michael like a human being would do, happy to see him. Oh, wow. It was Whiteboy. Shit. Cassius Canefield, I haven't seen him in years. Cassius, if you remember, was also one of the bloody Shamrocks back in the day. and yeah, I know exactly what you're thinking. But you gotta understand, first off, a lot of the nicknames we gave each other were also meant to be jokes. And Whiteboy here, we called him that since he was the darkest brother in our group. Black, but also had the personality of the whitest mofo. Dude acted so white that Cosby would then want to adopt his ass into the Huxtable household. And ironically, we called him Whiteboy for it. Wait, is that ironic? Hey, Michael, we've been hit hard, told Cassius as his eyes changed and now fell in more in line with the rest of his flock. What do you mean? Asked Michael. You remember the mullet heads? Yeah, that romper-stomper skinhead types. What about them? Another pause, but this time that last fluorescent light must have gone bust, for it wasn't zapping anymore. It was almost total darkness now, yet some form of light was still lingering to make this not such a deadly scene. And now Nero spoke and said, How do you feel about killing some pigs? What? Yeah, man. There's a couple of them further down the station and what? And then, nothing then. Time froze, literally. And it was like the gates of hell opening, showing Michael a damnation. The gates or windows to their souls had opened. Their eyes were now the eyes of all slanted men. Slanted. And what? But they didn't respond. They were now giving him the evil eye. Though not Michael directly, not yet. But all they were saying they were to do, without saying it. Michael took a step back, and immediately they all stepped forward. Michael knew what this meant. Knew, but decided not to start bashing any punch or kick or kill these motherfuckers dead now buttons. Let's see if the pen could actually be mightier than the sword. Okay, pigs you say, cops, police officers. Yet y'all just told me about rompin' stomper mullet heads. Now pigs. Michael now flashed a cold flash at Whiteboy, since the rest had eyes now growing more and more enraptured by the murder music that the devil was playing for them. Cassius, you say you got hit by skinheads. So where are they? Cassius seemed the least slanted. He eyed his main man, seeking approval. After some harsh half seconds, Nero gave it to him. These riots, man. Everyone's gone crazy. Yeah, said Michael. And And you know how it is with people like us. We always get hit the hardest, spoke Cassius to seek sympathy. Michael said nothing this time. Cassius took a step forward, the only human one amongst them now, even if blacker than the rest, although Nero, yellow motherfucker, and he would be too. It was a while ago. We still got a score to settle with them. But then the pig stepped in. Cassius stepped forward again, pitifully, mind you. Michael now felt obliged, but then saw Nero and felt like not doing so. They raided us. They raided you. Nero now grew a dastardly smirk. One Michael knew all that it meant. Cassius now turned to eye Nero as if an underling looking for intel. Eye filling intel. Michael was seeing all this, and it was pissing him off, knowing what it meant. Cassius got some info from the eye talk and turned to continue. Yeah, they did, said, then grew nil. Michael was no longer paying any attention to Cassius. He felt pity for him, but why feel pity for a puppet when you can feel some anti-pity for the puppet master? He had his eye on Nero, straight, and in his mind, he was already waxing through his quick reflexes of how quickly he could pull some high noon OK Corral shit and get the gun pulled down and ready, and before these varmints were to pounce. Of course, it wasn't just Nero and Cassius here. There were also the other fools, and they were trying to do some sneaky flanking shit every time they felt Cassius had enough of Michael's attention to where he wouldn't notice. But being a master at the art of war, eat your fucking heart out, Sun Tzu. Smother that shit with soy sauce and eat it. Well, Michael knew what was what and what needed to be done, simply put. Michael, they hit us hard. You didn't hear? It's like a group of mercenaries went in and gunned us all down. You should have seen it. Bodies everywhere. They did that to us. Them pigs, they need to pay. That made Michael realize something about the intel. Mercs? Cassius now glanced at Nero, but Nero fed Whiteboy no more info. His eyes were growing redder and redder, totally fixated on Michael. Mad, for he now got Michael was seeing into this lie. Yeah, like some movie, homie. Like a gang of IRA mercs, they wasted us. Oh, you too? And now Nero was showing teeth. What do you mean? Michael now took a risk and grew sympathetic, but only for Whiteboy's ass. Not these buzzards here, and decided to let them know he knew what was what. Whiteboy. I was at the Nymphomatic building when it happened. Michael redirected his gaze at Nero, who was now giving Michael, and only Michael, directly, the evil eye. I was there. But I gotta say, word of mouth truly must travel quick. Because I don't remember you fools being there when that shit went boom. Split second later, the pounce was on. But not no mission accomplished. For Michael had the AK down with full metal jackets inbound. If these motherfuckers took another step. Motherfucker, we're gonna kill you, motherfucker. Cut your fucking heart out and eat it, motherfucker. Then we find your kids and chop them up and eat them. Rat-tat-tat. Fired off Michael's son. With the explosions and those bullets ricocheting over and over in these spaces, making the echoing sound out like God's own thundering voice, and even before the lightning judgment, jolt went the sounds resonating as it shocked their senses as they came down from their bad morpho pedestals and grew ghastly human. All were phased but Michael, who didn't even blink with all 3 warning shots, even when he was the closest to this instrument of might and mort. And with that, Michael had these stupid fucking niggas at compliance. That fluorescent light was no longer off, no longer flickering, it was now all white. All light had entered back into this dingy and dreary subway station. The shadow people could no longer do a damn thing about it. Nero now got desperate and reverted back to words and not actions. What do you got the AK for, Mike? His lower lip was shivering now, regrettably, and the man seemed more anguished by the humility of it all than any other reason that would not paint him as anything less than this wretched. The most wretched part being his absolute refusal to receive the whole humility aspect. Well, there's nothing more pathetic than a bad motherfucker reduced to a has-been sucker now. Yeah, let's see you bad motherfuckers try to fight the power of a 7.62 39mm cartridge blowing up your heads like Gallagher with a mallet blows up yellow watermelons and shit. Boom, boom. It's the type of stuff not even pity wants anything to do with anymore. For there's being pitiful, and then there's being downright pathetic. Pity don't like its lowly station, but it'll try to rise still. Pathetic ain't satisfied until it can see how low it can go. I got business. Well, maybe we could help each other out. We got business too. I don't think it's the same. Looks the same to me. What's your story? Fine, you want to know? I'm off to kill the big white head. They then looked at each other indifferently. What, don't believe me, Mike? Whatever. You help us gun down these pigs, and you scratch our backs, we scratch yours. And now Michael felt a temptation. He could really use all their help afterwards at 1999. But no, Michael couldn't. Plus, he no longer trusted them with any scratch business. I want the gun. Did you hear me? Michael almost felt like chuckling, for it was as if that whole scenario didn't just happen. Felt like chuckling, felt like shaking his head, since Nero was now just being a broken record, still playing mind games and thinking, nah, persistence in telling some lie don't work for me. Keep your BS narrative to yourself, please. Do you or do you not? Loud and clear. And Nero was now losing his edge. They all were, as the fluorescent light grew wider and wider. And what? Those fucking pigs! You got something coming, man. Michael now did shake his head, as they all gave him contemptuous Dutch angles for taking it there. Michael no longer gave a shit. We all got something coming to us. All Mike could say while shaking his head. No, fuck that shit. You don't understand. What don't I understand? And now it was his turn, for these fools no longer had an ounce of righteousness left, and the glory was now fading. Oh, thumping some pig skulls in. I think I have a clue. Plus all that comes afterwards. Whiteboy now gave Michael a look. He remembered that detail of his former head honcho. You got fucked. But maybe it was also your fault too. Maybe. Nero now took a step back. You got screwed, y'all did. But now you no longer care about justice being served. At least not to the right persons. You're gonna take it out on everybody. If they deserved it or not. Tell me you lying. Now Nero's eyes got scared. I know, people like to think blaming the other guy and acting so righteous, especially when they were wronged. But I know something about that, and how black and white, it's never that cut and dry. We all gray in the end. Little Nero grew smug now, the Larry Fishburne-looking mother, and Michael felt like really putting him in his place. Did you really get hit at all tonight? Or you think tonight would be a great night for some payback all around? Nero now disengaged a bit from the contemptuous sneer to one side. Blue Ball, the fool with the whore, motherfucker, I eat your kids, shit, was left frowning like a sourpuss. Just as I thought, quoted Michael, and they left now. Michael had now a moment of peace to think. Although he did see the color of Whiteboy's eyes at the ends, and Michael pitied the fool. He did. His eyes were still slanted, just as all of theirs were, even after Michael's words, as their madness turned inwards to sadness, as sad boys used to. Damn, I don't want to be racist, but every time I'm around them, the whole room just feels like it's turning dark, getting dim, and some really shady shit is about to go down. Nothing but a dark room full of piercing, scary-looking white eyes, followed with some piercing, scary-looking white teeth, behind some very, very, very black hearts. That whole thing about light and dark, white and black, that's how I see things. Now I do see it that way too. It feels like they're what's corrupt and going to taint the light. It's like they're evil or something. They're like animals. They base all their decisions and choices on their rawest emotions. They ain't capable of rational thought. Yeah, they got a sad story to tell. Yeah, fine, they do, but maybe if they weren't so volatile, they wouldn't have such, and they'd be better off. And then Michael realized something he never really understood in him before. It was all true, but Michael was also a prodigy. Shit. You can't trust people like these, not black, no white, no whatever, for it's simply human nature, but people that are a slave to their own emotions. A man must dictate what his emotions feel, not the other way around. They don't even understand the wrong they do. They don't understand it, not no more, since they're all very gone. Killing cops now? Are they fucking serious? I ain't taking any part in that. None. They're crazy and hot-blooded and I can't help them. They're too angry. Too much shit has happened to them. And the fire that started within them is too big and me getting involved is just going to end up also consuming me also. What they got there is just going to burn themselves out, ruin them, and leave them nothing but charred remains. I feel sorry now, I do. But I can't get involved with them now. I can't. This is no longer that once great man's dream. This is now becoming what would be his ultimate nightmare.